Hello and welcome. In this demo, I want to begin to show you some things about p-lists and how they relate to, in this case, a mutable array, but any of these p-listable class types in iOS. What we've got is a picker view and a button, add entry. And when we create a picker view, we must always remember to set its delegate and data source, these two outlets of the picker view, back to file's owner. And then in file's owner, which is the view controller, we adopt two protocols, UI picker view delegate and UI picker view data source. Now we can get to these protocols just by, again, command clicking on them, and we can see the required methods of these protocols. And protocols and delegation we're going to talk about again in next unit. But to get to these protocol methods, and especially the required ones, we can just copy them from here and paste them into the implementation of the view controller so that we don't forget the method headers for those protocol declarations. Now once again, in view controller, we have an outlet for the picker view. We have an NS mutable array, which is going to be the picker content, and we have an integer, the item number, and then we have an add click method. The outlet we have gone ahead and wired to the picker view itself, and the add click method we've wired to the button. So let's look at these methods. First of all, we want to take the array. We've synthesized our array and our integer and our picker view. We want to take this array and initialize it if it doesn't already exist. So this again is lazy instantiation. Now one thing I want you to notice is that in this file I've used this compiler directive pragma and with a argument of mark. Mark simply takes the whatever we put after the dash and makes it a header so that we can quickly find what we need to in our method list, in our implementation. Now, this is a pragma for lazy instantiation. I lazily instantiate picker content by overriding its getter, and I'm just initializing that NS mutable array with an initial capacity here of 5. And then I return picker content. We're using 3 of the picker view delegate and data source methods. The number of components in the picker view, well, we only want one wheel, so to speak, so we're returning 1. The number of rows in each component, we're returning the number of rows, or the number of items in the picker content array. And then the title for row for component. The title for row, when we pass in this argument row, is just going to be the object at the index with that argument row from that picker content array, and we'll just return that. Now, our add click method simply sets up a new NS string, and we're calling it item, and it is a string with the format item and a number, where that number is the item number, and then after we get that item number into that item string, we want to increment it. Then we add that item to the picker content array, and we're logging out the picker content. We don't need to do that. So we'll comment these out. If you want to see the results of these log statements, by all means, uncomment them. And then we're telling the picker view to reload all of its components. What this does is it tells the picker view to rerun all of its delegate methods, all of its data source and delegation methods. And the reason it does this is because the number of components in the array has changed, so we want the number of rows in the picker view to change. And that's all we do in the add click method. Finally, in view.load, we set the item number equal to 1, so that when the application starts, we'll have item 1 being added, then item 2, item 3, and so forth. So now let's go ahead and save this, and we'll run the application. We'll run it from here. And now when we add an entry, we can see that that entry goes into the picker view. And then we can scroll the picker view and choose whichever one we want to. And we don't have any code here for the selected entry, but that's okay. That would be in the delegate method that we explored the last time we looked at the picker view. Now, all of this is good, and it shows that we can dynamically refresh the content of a picker view. That's great. We're using a mutable array so that we can change the array in place, so to speak, or the elements of the array in place. But now watch what happens when I click Home and then rerun. Now this is because in iOS, when we click Home and then rerun an application, the application doesn't quit. The application would only quit if, for instance, we would, let's say, run this from here, click to add entry, and then stop and rerun. Okay, so it's all reset back to the way it was. Well, when we touch the home key on an iPad or an iPhone, the application goes into a suspended state. Now, a couple of things can happen. The application could be actually quit by the user within the interface of the iPhone itself. In that case, we would be back to this state. The application could also be terminated if the memory requirement of the system, of iOS itself, were such that it needed to recover memory. Either way, we lose what we had set up in the picker view. Now, with this application, it's very simple to go ahead and add our 5 items back, but with a more full or better developed application, what we want to do is save the elements in this NS mutable array to some structure so that when we load back up, we would be at the same state we were when we quit the application the last time. So in the next demo, I'm going to show you how to write this mutable array out to a plist and then load it up to a plist when the application starts. Thank you.